Hi, Jordan. You can hear me? Thank you. Hi, everybody. If you're tuning in for our 3 p.m. webinar, I'm just going to wait maybe like 2 minutes just to have some people settle in and arrive. You can feel free to go get a glass of water or a cozy cup to sip on while we watch. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to wait one more minute as people arrive and come into the room. Again, feel free to go get something to drink, and you can settle in before I hold you hostage. Good. Okay. So it's 3:02. We'll get started. And before I do, I just wanted to throw out a shout out to Nusu for putting on this webinar for everybody and just trying to think outside the box in this time and offering just a sense of connection and just, trying to help the students in new and creative ways. Um, and I want to thank you guys for coming because I think it's needless to say, when you're hosting a webinar alone in your bedroom and the topic is loneliness, it's actually really nice when people show up. So thank you for doing that. And because today's theme is connection, I just really want to invite you all to practice your connecting skills by using this chat feature we have through Zoom. If you go to the bottom of your screen and click on the chat, before you type, just make sure you select that it's to everybody. That way we can all see your comments. Throughout the session, I will ask I'll ask questions to you guys. So please, please, please feel free to type in your thoughts. And even when I'm not asking a question, if you have any comments or questions that come up, just type them in and I'll get to them. So without further ado, let's get started. My name is Melody, and I'm a mental health therapist. But mostly I identify as being a human. So, like you, this quarantine is very new to me. I've never experienced this in my life. So, I'm trying to navigate it alongside. And the best I can do today is offer some tips that our clients have found very helpful. And it is going to be a dialogue because although I have some tips to share with you, I'm looking forward to learn from you guys as well. And again, this I just really want to emphasize what a strange time this is. It's like everything I thought I knew about the world is completely upside down. The avocado, I thought that was the most popular thing, but it looks like its 15 minutes of fame in the spotlight has come to an end because toilet paper is now bae. And instead of hashtag no new friends and like namaste in bed, or people even checking their weekly screen time to see if they've reduced their screen addiction. All of a sudden, people are out of the house and it's hashtag outdoors life, and reconnecting with nature is like the number one priority. So, like, I don't know, everything is different. But with jokes aside, it seems like things that we might have taken for granted before in terms of interaction, we're super craving now, connection in any sense. And although we're here today because the world since COVID is very strange and different and new, loneliness isn't new. So loneliness has existed well before COVID, and maybe some of you can relate to me, but I've had loneliness in my life before this has all started. I have memories of feeling lonely as early as like 2 years old, and as recent as when I moved from Vancouver to here, to Toronto. So when I look back on that experience, I just remember feeling completely alone here. I didn't know anybody. I felt like even when I was walking on the street, that people could just know by looking at me that like I didn't know anybody. And it was really uncomfortable feeling. I found that I started working at a job that only had 4 employees, 2 of which were the owners. So that wasn't really a network for me to meet people. I wasn't a student, so I didn't really have anyone there I could meet. And eventually, the more time I spent alone, the more I became shy, the more I became to have like insecurities and anxieties, and I have more time to worry and all of this. So it became harder and harder the more lonely I felt. What I did to cope was eventually I got brave and I joined some recreational sports, even though I'm not good at sports. I joined some meetup groups, some of which were not very good, some of which were. And eventually I started to put myself out there and meet new people until eventually I had a very like vibrant social life. I was going out a lot. And when I felt secure with that, I actually started cultivating a really deep yoga practice, which helped me cultivate mindfulness and meditation. And suddenly it felt like I didn't need people to not feel lonely anymore. Even when I was at home by myself, I didn't have that sense of loneliness. So all this is to say that, loneliness in the time of COVID is different because I can't use the same strategies I used before. I'm not going to be going playing volleyball, and I'm not going to be going to meetups. So we're just going to be trying to find new ways to cope with our new reality. But first, I want to ask you guys a question. Why is this worth talking about? Well, it's because loneliness can actually affect us in a lot of different ways. So we'll see here that, it can lead to increased anxiety, like I had when I was lonely here in Toronto, decreased energy, difficulty focusing because you're preoccupied, difficulty sleeping, and these symptoms are different for everybody. So I invite us all to the chat now. Is anyone brave enough to share some ways that loneliness has shown up in their lives recently? Mhm. All right. We'll wait a little bit longer. And it's okay that we're warming up our participation muscles. Oh, having your roommates leave, yes. That can be difficult. I'm sure at times you felt like you wanted privacy having to live with roommates, and now you're kind of missing them. So like conflicting emotions. Thank you, Charlotte. Good. We'll move on to the next slide, but as ideas come up, just feel free to shoot them out. So loneliness can affect us in different ways, but like just how important is this? It is extremely important. When I saw this, that, the UK actually appointed a minister of loneliness, I thought it was a joke. I was like, am I reading an Onion article? I'm getting way too gullible as I get older. But this is actually real. And it's because loneliness has actually been considered like a new epidemic. So loneliness can actually lead to serious psychiatric illness. It has also been linked to different chronic conditions such as inflammation, which leads us to be predisposed to physical conditions like heart disease. And a study in the Harvard Business Review actually stated that loneliness could shorten our lifespan, similarly to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So yes, loneliness is legitimate, and it is something to spend our time thinking about. So how can we support ourselves during social distancing? Today we're going to talk about 4 tips. 1, the first is going to be keeping a routine. 2, how to be creative about how we're connecting with others. 3, learning about self-soothing and what that means for us. And then 4, self-compassion. Okay, so why is a routine important? I'm sure you guys have heard over and over and over again since it's all started to keep a routine. Well, for starters, it creates a structure and an unstructured environment. And the way I see it is so many things have changed. Some really subtle things you might not even have noticed yet. And with so many changes going on that I can't control, for instance, not being able to go to school, not being able to take the transit, not being able to go to the grocery store, why would I want to start changing the things I've been doing all along For me personally, that just doesn't add up. Um, I don't want to have so many balls in the air. The things that I can remain the same, I would like to remain the same. And having that sense of routine can help reduce, feeling of stress, fewer things to be uncertain about. And again, it's just maintaining that sense of normalcy. So, how can we do that? Well, we would recommend that every night before bed, you can plan your next day, or you can have a routine where you wake up, get your coffee, and plan that day. For me, that's what I like to do. Every morning I get up, I think about what I have to do, and I stick to a plan. And I can still be flexible. I can move the items around, but just gives me kind of like a roadmap of what I'm hoping to accomplish. I love the idea of waking up at the same time each morning that I would have if I was going to school or work, getting dressed as I would if you were someone who wore makeup, wearing makeup again. And so for me, I actually have like a weekly schedule of when I get dressed like a normal person. And for me, it's every weekend I'm going to do my sweats because that's what I always did before. Um, and before this started, I would often work outside of working hours. But now that I'm at home every day, I feel like that's no longer serving me. So I'm trying to keep all my work during the work hours because I just feel like if I'm at home all day working and then I'm working in my free time, that to me just feels really chaotic. Um, and so now I'm going to limit my work time and create boundaries so it's more clear to me what's personal and what's work, since the space itself is now blended into one. So, who here has already experimented with keeping a routine or has noticed that not having a routine has kind of impacted them? Let's take it to the chat. And I always like to add in about routine and schedules. It's not just about business, it's also about fun. So you can schedule into your routine your phone calls with friends. It can be scheduling in your Netflix time. Um, it's just scheduling, and scheduling is usually associated with work, but it can be fun too. Sarah says she never knows what day it is. She never knows what days it is, but she always tries to wake up at the same time every day, like she would at work. And then she sets that lunchtime, protects that time to eat. Yes, I like that. Is anyone else doing that? Like setting a lunchtime to adhere to? All right. If anything comes up, I welcome you to come. Sarah, I 100% support your idea of protecting your eating time. Love food. I was saying during my time here in quarantine, though, I do need to schedule it because I feel like I'm just constantly eating. I wish I could practice social distancing from the fridge, but every hour seems to be eating hour for me. Okay, so on item number 2, it's getting creative and how we stay connected to others. I love this little picture. Um, so social distancing is not, say, social isolation. And so on this part, I really wanted to emphasize that connection is not a tangible experience. It has nothing to do with proximity. Connection is something that you feel. And that's why you can have people say things like, I feel lonely even if I'm in a crowd. Or when you're traveling away from family or your significant other, that the heart grows fonder with distance. So connection is and has always been, since before COVID, a feeling and not a tangible sensation. Um, and we all know already that this is a shared experience in loneliness that we're all having. And like That's a pretty unique moment in history to be a part of. So there's definitely a lot of crummy things that have come up in this thing, but there's a little part of me that's like, wow, it's kind of cool to be a part of this movement. And it really reminds me of Y2K, you know, back when I was at home crying on New Year's Eve because I legitimately thought the world was going to end. I don't think I could ever understand what this experience was like without having lived in it. So we're all experiencing this together. And it kind of makes it the safest time to reach out and share your emotions of loneliness. Um, Reaching out can also look like um, obviously you can reach out to people you know, like family or friends or neighbors, but I also want to encourage you to reach out to people that you don't really know that well, or maybe people that you've lost a connection with. And know that people always welcome the feeling of support. So it could be that good reason to reconnect with that friend you've always wanted to connect with. Um, or, you know, some of us might be feeling that no one reached out to us. And we can start feeling sad that, you know, oh my gosh, I hear everyone else reaching out. Here I haven't received anything. That's all the more reason to reach out to somebody. You never know what they have in their lives. And reaching out to them could be a way for you guys both to reach out to each other and connect. And again, just, you know, kind of setting an example for everyone in our lives to reach out to someone they know. So that was on the importance of being connected. Some creative ways we have here on the slide. You can pre-schedule your phone or video chats. You can actually look for new friends in Facebook groups with some of the hobbies you've always been interested in but didn't have time to pursue. There's actually the Bumble app, so you can look for friends. It's not just for romantic relationships. You can meet like-minded individuals, and you can even schedule a virtual movie watching session. So maybe you guys both press play on Netflix at the same time. Some ways that I've been reaching out to people during this time is I've tried House Party. I don't know if you guys know that. It's an app that just makes group chats really easy. You can talk to up to 8 people at a time, whereas some chats limit that number. You can also play games on it where there's trivia. I've downloaded Jackbox.tv, so it's like a game console where you hook up and use your phones as your console, but you guys can all watch the same screen. And you know, creative ways to stay connected. This is all a very individual basis. So for me, what's been different to reach out is I've actually been sharing more on social media. You know, I've been posting some stories and actually recording myself talking and sharing my day. And for me, that's like a new type of connection, and people are responding to them. I'm actually sharing local um, social media posts from local businesses to support them. I'm sending them messages, letting them know that I'm excited to be back on their doors when the quarantine period ends. I'm actually recording some voice notes. So maybe I don't feel like I can have a telephone call with someone, but I'm too lazy to type. So I'll actually just record a voice note and send it over. And for some friends that are requesting videos, what's creative for me is actually saying, can we please just have a telephone call? I don't know if you guys can relate, but it feels like right now everyone's like, let's do video, let's do video. But I actually feel a little bit inundated by that. And going back to the good old original telephone is my creative way of staying in touch. So let's throw it back to you guys in chat. Have you guys tried any of these techniques I mentioned, or have you tried anything that was new for you that you guys can suggest to the group? Oh, and I also wanted to mention that something new for me to connect is like this webinar. You know, I haven't done much of this in the past, and this has really been an exciting way for me to look forward to something in the week and connecting with new people this way. Again, sharing in that common experience. Anybody doing virtual workouts? Ooh, Charlotte's reached out to an old friend. How did that feel? If you're comfortable sharing. It was good. A little awkward at first. Yes. And it sounds like you embraced that because you know what? Sometimes new things are awkward, but it doesn't mean it stays awkward for long. Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Chat is there. We'll move on to the next point. Understanding what self-soothing looks like for you. So it is different than self-care. Self-soothing is a strategy we use to make ourselves feel comfortable in a moment that we're struggling. And this next picture will kind of explain the differences a little bit more. Um, so self-soothing is like watching TV, eating something yummy. It's like an immediate reward. It feels really comforting. Cuddling, singing loudly, laughing. And self-care is more like the medicine. So it's something we know in the long run is going to be really good and healthy for us, but like maybe in the moment it doesn't really feel like a good thing. So, you know, we exercise. Some of us enjoy it, some of us don't. Some of us do it because it's purely good for that cardio and the heart rate. Going to therapy is like self-care because at the moment you might have to talk about some really hard feelings, but you know, in the long run, you're working towards a goal. So those are some of the differences, even though we hear self-care thrown out a lot. I think it's really important to notice the distinction. And yes, they are both important. So, um, so we have some like suggestions here to add. You can rewatch your favorite shows. I love the idea of rewatching because I don't know if we all have time in the day to like watch all of Friends again from start to finish or reread the like Harry Potter trilogy, but maybe we have that gift of time to do that now. You can practice deep breathing. Exercise isn't just good in a long-term sense for your body, but it can also help get rid of excess energy and anxiety right in the moment. For me, my self-soothing routine is like playing classical piano and creating like a spa-like atmosphere. So at the end of the day, I put on my big fluffy robe. I wash off all my makeup. I put a little face mask on. I go on the couch and I put my weighted blanket on. That's me. Um, and so something else I want to highlight about the self-soothing is that it's very unique. So if you guys know what soothes you, do that. And if you guys are like, wow, I never really thought of that before, get curious about yourselves. Start taking note. Maybe when you try something new, writing down whether you liked it or not. And then not being scared to try out new ways. Has anyone discovered a new self-soothing technique that they never thought they enjoyed? Oh, cooking for my family. That's so sweet. It's like self-soothing for you, but also so giving. Also self-care to be eating more of a balanced diet rather than ordering lots of takeout, which is also okay. All right. Well, at the end of the session, I will be asking for something you might take away from today's session. So we'll still have more time to share our self-soothing techniques with everybody. For our last point, oh, practicing self-compassion. It's okay if you fall apart sometimes. Tacos fall apart and we still love them. I love this meme because like it not only shows you that it's okay to fall apart, but I would argue that it is in a taco's nature to fall apart. So like if it didn't fall apart, would it be a taco? So like all the changes we're going through right now with COVID and dealing with loneliness, finding new techniques, we're not like, if you're having hard feelings, you're not failing. Like life isn't static, it's always changing and flowing. So it's in the nature of being a human being that we're always trying to like um, make changes in life and move with the flow. So we have strategies that worked in the past. Like for me, it was like how to deal with loneliness. Now my reality has changed and now I have to adjust to those changing things. And having the hard feelings and trying something out and having it not work, that's a part of the entire process of recalibrating ourselves to balance again. So it's not a failure, and self-compassion is that first step to being kind to yourself, letting yourself have hard feelings, because if you're going to try a bunch of new strategies, you might not like them all, but you got closer to what's working for you. So accepting that process. So what is self-compassion? Again, it's just being kind and understanding towards yourself. And I like here that it highlights being kind to yourself just like you'd be kind to others. And I think I've really seen a lot of us right now being super supporting of others in their hardships. And if people are canceling their commitments to us or needing us to help them pick up groceries, we've all been reaching out. So just being able to turn that back and reflect it onto ourselves as well. Like you might not be able to do all the things that you used to be able to do because maybe you're dealing with a lot more on your plate. Maybe emotionally you don't have the energy. So just treating yourself as you have been treating everyone else. And a part of that is that self-care piece. So taking a deeper look and noticing if you're being self-critical. And the inner critic sometimes is that like pesky voice in our head that can show up as, you should be doing more because you're at home. You're not commuting, so you have more time to produce more. Or feeling like a slower pace of life is inherently a bad thing. It's not inherently a bad thing. It really just depends on whether you enjoy a faster paced life or a slower paced life. And I really want to take a pause here because I think a lot of people have shared that, they feel guilty not doing more because they have a lot more time. But just because we might have more time because we're not going to be commuting doesn't mean we have more energy. So a colleague of mine posted this, and things that used to take zero energy before are now taking a lot more energy. She mentioned that she used to just go down to her lobby and pick up parcels, but now going to the lobby involves, am I touching things? Is there someone else in the elevator with me? Am I protected? So there's a lot more thoughts going on to basic activities, and that can be really draining. So again, acknowledging for yourself that you might have more time, but you don't necessarily have more energy. And more free time doesn't mean it has to be filled. You are allowed to enjoy free time and to relax a little bit. Has anyone felt that inner critic speaking up? I know for sure the first few weeks of mine, I personally felt like I should be doing more. And I'm still working right now on letting go of that expectation. And I'll fully admit that I don't think anyone put that expectation on me except for myself. So yeah, that's some of my self-care work and self-reflection. Anyone else having felt that inner critic, or am I alone? Definitely. Thanks for speaking up and joining me here. Owen Mackenzie, you too. I also dare to say that like we don't have more time because I think most of us actually put a lot on our plates. So maybe we just have enough time now, or maybe we're still in a deficit. Ah, yes. Feeling like you should work at all hours because you're at home and have exams. Yeah, and so those divisions are feeling less clear. And you know what, guys? Maybe before when we were commuting, that gave our brains a chance to relax for 30 minutes to an hour. And now we're like never allowed to shut off. And people feel like you're always available to them. Like, why wouldn't you be able to answer the phone? I know you're at home. it's, it's a complicated process. with every action or new experience, there's a counter effect. Okay. So something that can help us with self-compassion um, and self-care and self-soothing is mindfulness. And again, this is just one strategy out of many. I'm going to talk to you about mindfulness for a little bit. I'm going to walk you guys through a couple of exercises that you can try at home. And then, yeah, I'll be able to give you a chance to connect with me more if you want to hear about it. So why does mindfulness help us? Well, it means paying attention on purpose to the present moment. And so it helps by grounding us in the present so that it can pull us away from the spiraling thoughts we have, which are normally negative. It can be like self-criticism, all the things we just talked about, or it can be fears about the future. How long are we going to be here? What does this mean? What about my money? What about my grades? What about my job? And it's not to say that all those worries aren't valid and there, but sometimes letting ourselves get picked up by that air balloon, it just doesn't really help because it's not changing anything. It's depleting our energy. It's making our enjoyment of the present moment less. In other words, it's detracting you from the facts of this very moment, which are that you are sitting with me in this webinar and that we're safe and there's no present danger. So letting our fears of the future slip away so our bodies can understand that we're not in a moment of stress, which can also build up and have effects of its own. So two really common techniques to practice mindfulness is the 5 senses and counted breath. So let's do this one together. Whether you're sitting or laying down, just getting really comfortable. We'll keep our eyes open. Let's take a big inhale through our nose. And then an audible sigh out the mouth. One more time, inhale. Exhale slow. Whichever area of your body is in contact with your floor, your bed, or your chair, just letting that body part get really heavy, making contact. And with your eyes open, I want you to notice five things in the room that you can see. 5 things that you can see. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Let's close our eyes. We're going to tune into our sense of touch without moving, tuning into our skin, just noting 4 things that you can feel. That might be the feeling of your clothes on your skin, Maybe the feeling of the breath coming out your nose and grazing your lips. Maybe you have some hair that's coming down your face or tickling you. Just noticing. Let's inhale. Loud exhale. Letting the body go deeper, sinking into the floor. Tuning into our sense of hearing next. Noticing 3 sounds that you can hear in your environment. Naming them to yourselves in your mind. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth, keeping our eyes closed. Bringing our focus to the nose. And seeing if there are 2 smells that you notice in your environment. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling out the mouth. Last one. Bringing our attention to our taste. Noticing if you can taste one thing. Inhale through our nose. Long exhale through the mouth. Let's keep our eyes closed as I walk us through a counted breath exercise. Let's bring our right hand to our belly and our left hand onto our chest. Listening carefully, no need to follow my directions yet. We'll be breathing all of our breaths deep into our belly so that when we inhale, our belly gets really, really, really big, like we just had a big meal. And then as we exhale, we empty the belly fully, and we even squeeze our abdominal muscles at the very bottom to exhale all the breath. So our belly hand's going to be moving up and down, but we're going to try to keep the chest hand not moving whatsoever. Okay, to prepare, let's exhale everything out through our nose. Inhaling through our nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, hold. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let that go. Starting to return to your normal breath. With your eyes closed, let's rub our palms together, rubbing our palms together so much, so quickly that it generates heat between the palms. And then we place the palms over our eyes. Big inhale through the nose. Big exhale out the mouth. Just lowering the hands off our face. Opening your eyes and looking around the room. This is my favorite meme. Plot twist. Waldo finds himself. How's everybody feeling? Are you guys still there? It's really vulnerable when now you host a webinar, closing your eyes and breathing in front of the camera. Okay. So, what other resources are available to you guys? I taught you some strategies here. We had this webinar, and I'm sure NewStu has other resources they're providing. I have a little list. I want to remind you guys that Real Campus is available to all students as part of the health plan. And through Real Campus, you get to access 6 ongoing sessions of therapy at no extra cost, which is fabulous. Therapy is can be a pretty expensive endeavor. You're also able to, open up to someone you trust for free. So whether that's a family member, coworker, or friends, you can reach out to a mentor. Maybe you can reach out to NewStu. And there's also some interesting apps. If you look up mood tracking apps or CBT apps, or like I mentioned earlier, like Bumble BFF. Some people feel, more comfortable sharing their feelings with someone they don't know. And then I also want to encourage you guys and empower yourselves to do some research on your own, whether that be through Google or even asking your friends hey, what have you guys been doing? And just exchanging ideas, So being curious and open to new ways, that maybe you shut out in the past, but that could be helpful to you now in this new reality. We also have this really cool new thing called Rethink Self-Care. So if you go to that link, you can actually register for it, and it takes less than an hour. So it just guides you through a self-reflective questionnaire to learn about self-care for you. And it's created by my lovely coworker there, Jalen, who's our clinical director. So it's legit. And before we go, I wanted to ask everybody to go to the chat, let me know you're there, and just write down one strategy that we talked about today that you'd like to carry forward. And even if it's a strategy you've already been doing. Mapping out my day to keep a routine. Thank you, Charlotte. Taking time to just breathe and end the workday at the right time. Oh, good. Someone enjoyed the mindfulness and grounding. And yeah, with the senses exercise, you could even do it where you name 5 of each sense. It doesn't have to be counting down. And with the breathing, you can count as many, you can use any type of count as you like. I just always recommend that the exhale is longer than the inhale. That's kind of what soothes and relaxes the nervous system. Good. And know that, I didn't explain this earlier, but The first few cycles of breath might not be lining up for you, and not to panic. That's very normal. Just go through a few cycles and eventually you'll sync up. And eventually you'll actually find that your exhale can become quite long. So sometimes I'll go inhale for 4 and I'll exhale for like 9 counts. Okay. So if you have any questions on mindfulness or Real Campus or therapy, or any questions about what we talked about today, you can reach out to me privately at melody@shiftcollab.com, or if you reach out to realcampus.ca, they can refer you to a Real Campus therapist. And shiftcollab.com right now has a lot of blogs and articles that we're putting out related to quarantine. And even though they're related to quarantine, they still apply to regular life. These are all strategies we can use at any time. So yeah, thanks so much for showing up for me so I didn't have to host this webinar alone in my bedroom. And Arlene says she liked the controlled breathing, and she uses a journal to keep her grounded in the present and kind of reflect on what's happened in the day. I love that. The journal is kind of a way to write down facts. You're welcome, and nice seeing you, Sarah, in spirit. It's always nice reconnecting with my NUSU team that I used to work with for years. Thank you everyone for attending. Hopefully we can do it again. All right, enjoy the rest of your days.